Okay, let's give a warm welcome to Marcel Pociot, a young gentleman on my right side. Can I hear applause, please? Marcel is a managing partner and developer at the Beyond Code in Germany, which builds custom Laravel web projects and focuses on chatbot development. Let's build some chatbots. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the nice introduction. So yeah, my name is Marcel. I'm from Germany, and I kind of switched to the dark side as I'm now a managing partner and not only a developer. But I chose to do so like 6 months ago, so it's okay with me at least. And you can follow me on Twitter if you want, using my Twitter handle. So when I'm not working, which has become quite a lot since I started my own company 6 months ago, I like to contribute back to open source. Most of all because I think we're using a lot of open source tools as PHP developers, for example, PHP. So I really like to give something back to the community, and even if it's just that I use it myself, maybe someone finds it useful, and it's also really great to just learn from other people, get in touch with other people, and I've met some great friends to open source, so you can give it a try. There's no shame in starting with open source. And I have a couple of PHP packages around. They get downloaded quite a lot of times. And one thing I want to mention, because it might be useful for you, is I'm also the developer of a Chrome extension, which is called Laravel Test Tools, or Codeception Test Tools, whatever you want to use. And it allows you to record your usage on your website, and it will basically generate a PHP unit test for you. I know it's not TDD. It's not the approach that you should do. But 15,000 people use it weekly, so it helps to generate a lot more tests, and it helps to create tests for software, which is just good. Okay, so enough about open source and me. Let's talk about chatbots and find out if they're as bad as the T1000 here. So the definition of chatbot, according to Wikipedia at least, is that it's a computer program that automatically conducts a conversation in either using textual information or audio information. And the Wikipedia article also says that these chatbots or programs should act like a human being and pass the Turing test. So this is a test where someone interacts with a computer program, and at the end, they should think that it's not a computer program, but a real person. I think that's wrong. At least acting like you're a real human person, we're not there yet when it comes to artificial intelligence and natural language processing. So to me, a chatbot is just another interface that you can use for your application. Just like you have an API, you might have an app or a website. And in addition, you could have a chatbot that you can use to interact with your application in whatever way might fit for a chatbot use case. And so to show you some examples of the use cases that are there, as developers, we're probably all used to some kind of Slack integrations or chatbots. This is one that I built for internal use at our company. And what it allows me to do is I can create with Laravel Forge, not sure if you know it, it's like a server provisioning system and site creation system. So it allows me to create a new site, in this case for a test environment, for the EGN webshop Laravel repository. And the chatbot just takes these arguments and passes it to a API. And then it creates a site on Forge, creates a database, connects the database with the app. It clones the repository. It creates an SSL certificate. And at the end, I just get the link for the website, and I can use it right away. If I would do this manually, it would probably take me maybe 10 minutes. So it's not a huge time factor that I gain, but it's also sharing information with the team, which I think is really important. So if I do this on Slack, the whole team knows, okay, I created this site, I can access it to do whatever I want with it. So this is also on Slack, but another common approach is to have DevOps kind of things. And in this case, we're just querying DNS information on a specific domain in a more natural language. So again, it is sharing information with the team on Slack, as well as saving time by doing this not manually, but delegating it to a software. And beside the whole fact that we as developers have the most touching points, chatbots are also good at marketing tools. So this is a chatbot from TechCrunch on Facebook. If you don't know TechCrunch, it's a huge tech news website in the US. And this chatbot allows me to, when I first get in touch with it, it allows me to subscribe to a certain amount of topics. And so I can choose between the topics that I want to receive updates. And what they do is, at the end of the day, I get a message on Facebook Messenger with the top, I think it's the top 7 articles for the specific topics that I selected of this day. So it's pretty much like a daily newsletter, but it doesn't feel like it because it arrives on my Facebook Messenger inbox. I use Messenger all the time to, text with my wife and friends. So it's probably a bit spam hidden in a non-spammy way. And this will probably change during the next month or years. If people and companies use it more and more, then also the messengers won't be as good for marketing reasons. But right now, at least I think this works very good. And what chatbots are also good for is self-service. So this example is from the London Transportation Services. And they have a Facebook Messenger bot that you can interact with and ask for certain times when buses arrive, buses leave, and just query basic information. You can do the same thing on the website, but having the sort of mini app in your Messenger is really nice too. So self-service is also a big selling point. And besides that, it's just fun. So it's not a chatbot in this case, but it's a voice assistant that I built. And what it allows me to do is I can deploy my website using my voice. Oh, you can't hear it. I would say ship it, which is a bit funny. Okay. So it's not useful in daily life. I don't use this to deploy my website all the time. I'm not sitting at my desk and talking to Alexa. But it's fun. And especially when dealing with chatbots, you don't have to create a UI. Because if you're a developer like me who's bad at UI and does not enjoy writing CSS, chatbots are perfect for you. Because you just say what you want and Facebook Messenger or Slack deals with rendering it, so you don't have to. And also, the timing is right for chatbots. So this is a comparison of the number of users on the top 4 social networking apps compared to the top 4 messaging apps. And as you can see, sometime in, 2015, the number of messaging apps users just started to outgrow the number of social network users. So there's a huge user base that can access your chatbots. Okay, so we're developers. Let's build our own chatbot. We can do this. There are quite a number of services available. So if you want to start with developing a chatbot, you first need to decide where does this chatbot live? Is it on Slack? Is it on Facebook Messenger? Maybe it's for SMS services using Nexmo or Twilio. Or, I don't know, something else, Skype, WeChat, whatever. So you have to choose the messaging service first. And to give you an idea of how these messaging services work in general, because they all behave in the same kind of way, but then slightly different. So in general, you create a messenger app or chatbot at the service that you want to use, and then you register a URL, and the service will send a post request to this URL with the content of the message. So when someone writes your chatbot on Facebook Messenger, Facebook will send you a post request with the JSON payload of your message. And then the task of your application is to decode the information and understand, is this a message for my chatbot? Should I really understand it? Maybe you have to understand the context. Maybe you're in a different conversation state. So if someone said that he doesn't like to get advertisement, and the next message is advertisement, that's not good. So you need to understand the context of the conversation as well. And at the end, you need to perform some kind of business logic and reply back to the user. So this is all the same for every service, but it works all very different in detail. So Facebook Messenger sends JSON payload, WeChat sends XML raw data, and for the response, you have everything from OAuth to just JSON responses to getting API tokens and reply things back. So this is quite a tedious task, especially if you decide we start with Facebook Messenger and you want to add SMS later on. So this means hello, right? All right, perfect. Okay, so I started working on a library which is called BotMan, and its main goal is to unify the whole chatbot development. So you write one code base and connect it to multiple messenger services. It's framework agnostic, so you do not, you can use it in a Zend application, Symfony, Laravel, no framework at all, doesn't matter. You can install it using Composer. Or in addition, it comes with a Laravel application which is called BotMan Studio, so you can choose. This is just, the Laravel application has some nice benefits, like commands that exist there to list drivers, install drivers, but you can choose. It's definitely free to pick. And this is the example I've put of the BotMan Studio version. So you have an artisan command on Laravel that allows you to list all the existing drivers. And as you can see, those are the drivers that are in the core of BotMan. So you can choose from all these services that these are available. And to install the driver, there's either an artisan command available, or you can just compose or require the driver package. And after you, so in this example, we just installed Facebook, and you can't really see it, but you end up just having a configuration file where you place your Facebook token, and you're done. That's the whole way of connecting your chatbot to Facebook Messenger. And as you can see here, there's a green checkmark on web. So default, when you install a new BotMan Studio application, you get also the web driver out of the box, which is just an API that you can use to interact with your chatbot. And the nice thing is when you just get started, install BotMan Studio, you have a welcome page with a link, and if you click on it, you have an input field where you can just try out your chatbot in your browser. So you do not need to connect it to any messaging service first, you can just try it out in the browser. Okay, so I want to go through the fundamentals of how a chatbot works, step by step. So it first needs to hear things, so it needs to understand that it should actually listen to specific commands. Then you need to process whatever information there is, which is mostly the business logic in this case. And then you need to respond to the user. So this is what the syntax looks like with BotMan. So you have these here's commands, And these here's calls, they receive a string that you want to listen for. So in this case, keyword. And so you stack up all these commands that you want to listen for and then call BotMan listen at the end. And this is basically your webhook file. And what it does when you type hello, keyword, it jumps into the callback function and executes it. So since this presentation is basically built on BotMan Studio, I can give it a try. So if I type keyword, it goes into the callback function, executes the WebDriver, and I get the response from my BotMan API. And if I just connect this code with Telegram, this is what the resulting code would look like on Telegram. This is the output. And this is the output on Facebook Messenger. So you can serve multiple messaging services with one code base. And of course, you're not limited to only one reply. So for example, if I type tell me more, then we get 2 replies. So when you deal with multiple messaging services in one code base, you might want to split specific commands onto specific services. So for example, you have a Telegram chatbot that also has some administration commands, but those commands should only be available on Slack, so that no real user that only has access to Telegram can interact with it. And so it has a group method where you can just define everything for this driver, so in this case the Slack driver, gets grouped in this closure, and so you can nicely define which commands are available for which driver. Now, just listening to static strings is nice, but at the end we want to receive some information from the user and want to extract parts of what the user gave you as an input into our application. The easiest way to do this with BotMan is by just wrapping whatever you want to catch in curly braces. So in this case, when it's call me and then curly braces name, everything after call me space will be passed to the name parameter in the closure function. So call me Marcel, and the name variable gets filled with whatever content is in there. And again, you can also stack multiple of these placeholders in your command. So in this case, it's I am name the adjective, and then these placeholders just get passed to the callback function in the order of appearance in your command. So in this case, it's name and adjective, and I am Gandalf, the, well, let's say white. Works. Sometimes this is not enough control, so you can also use just regular expression. So every regular expression matching group will be treated the same way. So in the end, what I'm doing is I'm just replacing the curly braces with regular expression matching groups. So in this case, we're only accepting numbers. So I can say I am 33 years old, which I am. And we get into the callback. And if I say something like I am 33 years old, it doesn't work. Depending on the service that you use, you might also want to listen for attachments. So users can send your chatbot images. With BotMan, there's a receives images function, and what it receives, or what it passes to the callback, is the BotMan instance that you can use to reply, and an array of images that you can use to do whatever you want to do in your application logic. And this also works for video files, audio files, and some messenger services also allow your users to send the location. So of course, this depends on the service that you're using, on if you use SMS, receives location would never get called because it's not possible to send an SMS with location data in this kind of structure. And so you saw that when I typed I am 33 years old and wrote 33 as a word. Sometimes you want to catch what happens if a user enters certain things that you do not want to listen to because your chatbot is probably focused on one specific domain. So in this case, there's a fallback method, and basically every time none of the commands that you have matches, you will jump into this method. So if I type any garbage, it just goes into the fallback method. So this is ideal for telling your users how they can interact with your chatbot. Then another feature of BotMan that's quite powerful is the ability to also store informations. So this is the actual code that was executed when I typed I am 33 years old. And as you can see, there's this bot user storage save call. And what it does is it saves just like basic JSON data, which is scoped to the user that is currently talking to the chatbot. And with the get method, you can retrieve it out of the storage. So if I now type how old am I, it reads out the values that I entered previously. And the important thing is here that this user storage is scoped to the user. So if two users are talking to the chatbot, they won't retrieve the value of one of the other. So this is really useful for storing information that is bound to the user that talks to your bot. And in addition to the user storage, there's also a channel storage. So channel in this case is for Telegram. When you have group chats, then a group chat would be a channel, or the classic Slack channels. So you can also store information regarding to this channel. And just one abstraction level higher is the driver storage. So you could even store information based on what driver you are using. So Telegram, Slack, Nexmo, Facebook. Another thing that BotMan supports are events. So depending on the messaging service that you use, it might trigger some sort of events. So for example, on Slack, when someone joins your team or joins the channel, there's a team join event that gets called, and you can just listen for these events and then reply or perform any kind of logic that you want inside of these closure methods. So in this case, we would just greet every user that joins our team. And these methods get a payload variable, which just contains whatever data was in this specific event. For Facebook, there are, for example, messaging read events. So whenever a message that you send out was actually read by someone, you get an event if you subscribe for it. Or just another example on Telegram, left chat member, we say goodbye and then the username. In this case, this is not extremely useful because we say it after the user left the channel. So he would greet the user that is gone. Okay, so right now we only replied textual information. But again, depending on the service that you use, you can also reply certain attachments with your message. So in this case, if someone says, give me images, what we're doing is we create an image attachment with a specific URL. We then create an outgoing message object with a text, here is a nice image, and then attach this image to the outgoing message and reply it. So give me images, and we get the text with the image. And the same, it works for audio and video and even location. So give me videos.
Turn myself into a pickle, Morty! Boom!
There's Pickle
Big
Rick.
reveal, I'm a pickle. What do you think about that? I turned myself into a pickle! I'm Pickle Rick!
All right. And again, depending on the service that you use, there are some driver-specific responses that you can use. So this is a template from Facebook. It's a list template which renders a list of elements, and each element can have a title, subtitle, an image, a button. And BotMan provides in just Fluent API to create these template objects with elements inside so that you can reply them. And this is what it would look like on Facebook Messenger. Now, this is driver specific. So if you would use this template and reply it to Telegram user, they won't see it. So this generates a Facebook specific payload that you can't send at any other Messenger service. Or the same with a button template, also Facebook specific, where you can have a title and then 2 buttons that get added to it. And this is what it would look like. Okay, we had some break and also some food, but I think we can order some pizza. So our chatbot should be smart enough to order pizza, right? So when you think about it, the process of ordering pizza is someone says something like, I want a large capricciosa with extra cheese delivered to Millennium Theater. And to do this with what I showed you before, it's just this hell of a regular expression, right? Well, this would work, but it's not user-friendly at all, because no one knows that they have to type this thing into your chatbot to trigger some kind of action. So for this, there's a concept of conversation. So what you would do in real life is you call someone, and then he asks you something about maybe the size of the pizza or what kind of pizza you want, and you give an answer. Then he asks you where you want it delivered, you give an answer. So you have a conversation, you'd not call, I want it, and hang up. And with BotMan, this is also possible, so you can ask questions. This is the most simple version of it, which is like an inline conversation. So what happens here is, when the user says, I want images, we go into the first callback. And then we're going to call the ask method on the BotMan instance with a question, which images? And the next message that comes in from this user is now scoped to this question. So it will not trigger any other commands that your chatbot has, because it knows that it's right now in this state of the conversation. So it would go into the next callback where you get the answer object. Then we can retrieve the text from the answer and just show some image. So I want images. Which images? Of course, cats. And we get some nice images of a cat. Now, in the example of the pizza delivery, this is not that useful to have it all inline, because you might want to split it up into a specific class so that you can reuse it throughout your chatbot application. For this, there's the concept of conversation classes. It's just an abstract class that you need to extend on. And all you need to implement is a run method. So this is the method that gets called whenever you start the conversation for the first time. And what we're doing with the pizza delivery, we are asking, what pizza size do you want? Then we take the answer and just store it as a property on the conversation class. So next thing we want to do is we call a new method that we create, which is called askTopping, where we ask the next question, just like with a real conversation. What kind of topping do you want? Again, we jump into the closure and save it as a property on the class. And last but not least, we ask for the address. And in this askAddress method, we just dump out all the information that we collected so far. And to start a conversation in the first place, you still need some kind of trigger keyword to start it in the first place. And then BotMan has a start conversation method that you pass an instance of the conversation that you actually want to run. So if we try this with I want pizza, what pizza size do you want? Let's say XXL. What kind of topping do you want? Let me just clear it so it doesn't go too low. I don't know. Salami. Where can we deliver your tasty pizza? Serbia. And then we get the result with all the information that we provided throughout this conversation. Now, given, especially in this pizza example, maybe the user types in, oh, he wants the pizza on the size of a wagon wheel, but you don't have wagon wheel-sized pizzas, unfortunately. So what you can do is you can add buttons to your questions to make the selection a lot more easier, and it's also better for the user experience because the user doesn't have to type the answer, but he can just pre-select it from whatever you chose as a pre-selection. So you can just create a question object that has the title of the question, so what pizza size do you want? And then we add two buttons with a label, supersize, and the value, XXL, and one button with the value, large, and with a title, large, and the value, L. And then we can also just ask the same question. So I called this better pizza. And now I get the question with the two buttons. I want a supersized pizza with burgers on top. And want it delivered to Serbia as well. And then we get the information as well. And this is what this code would look like on Telegram. And this is what the code looks like on Facebook Messenger. Now, this is all quite good, but your users still need to know these commands. So here comes natural language processing to the rescue. Natural language processing, what it does is, say you have a sentence like, hey calendar, schedule dinner with Nicole at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Then we take this sentence and send it to a natural language processing service. This service then takes this sentence and gives you back something like this. So you get a JSON response with an intent. The intent is we want to create a meeting. And then you receive the entities from this string, which is the name of the meeting is dinner with Nicole. The invitees is an array with Nicole. And the time is tomorrow at 8 p.m. There are a couple of natural language processing services available. The most common ones are Dialogflow. It was called API AI some while ago and then got acquired by Google. WidAI, which got acquired by Facebook. And it's also kind of built into Facebook, but still a standalone service. And my personal favorite, which is Rasa NLU. It's an open source package. It's an open source Python package that you can install on your server, so you don't need to send all the incoming messages to a third-party service from Google or Facebook, which is great. And when you set up these natural language processing systems, what you do is you define an intent. In this case, the intent is order pizza. And in order to fulfill this event, we have a certain amount of example sentences that can trigger it. So you define just a different variety of example sentences. So I'd like 4 cheese pizza. Can you make me small margarita and deliver it to some address? Make me margarita with chicken and additional cheese. And so it's not about having differences in the structure of the sentence, but really completely different sentences. And once you define these sentences, you can, this is from Dialogflow, you can just click on specific words and say, okay, small is now an entity of the type size. And margarita is an entity of the type, so it's a pizza type. And like this, you define all the different entities in your example sentences and end up with a natural language model that you can then use in your application. And this is what it looks like when you want to use it actually in BotMan. So BotMan has a concept of middleware that allows you to apply certain methods whenever a message was received or sent at specific events. And in this case, we're creating a Dialogflow middleware with our Dialogflow token and tell the middleware we want to listen for an action. An action is the intent, that's the name of an intent on Dialogflow. And then we just tell BotMan, okay, apply this middleware on every received incoming message. And then we define the order pizza. So we're here for order.pizza. But at the end, you see there's this middleware call, where we also pass in the middleware we created previously. So what this does is, if someone just types in order.pizza, this won't get triggered because the middleware also checks, did we actually get a response from Dialogflow? Is this message coming from Dialogflow? Does it have intents, etc.? And then it's the flow that I showed you before. So it goes into the callback function, and you can extract the information that was added by Dialogflow. So for example, the API parameters to perform whatever you want with them. And with Rasa NLU running locally, I should be able to show it to you. If I say something like, I want a large salami pizza with extra cheese, then the sentence gets processed by Rasa NLU, and we get back, okay, the type of the pizza is salami, the size is large, and the topping is, well, extra and cheese. And so this is really not limited to the way that the person is talking and interacting with your chatbot. So you can also say things like, I am hungry, give me a medium margarita with, I don't know, onions. So then it still understands, okay, the intent is still we want to order a pizza. So this is really great for understanding natural languages. Another quite common thing with chatbots is that you can also originate messages. As I said with TechCrunch, that's what they're doing. It's basically sending newsletters. So this is also possible with BotMan. You can just call a say method, give it a text or a template or a question, and then as a second parameter, just the user ID that you want to send it to. And while this is nice with just regular text messages, this is especially useful when you send conversations. So let's say you're at a PHP conference, for instance, and after the event, the organizer sends you a message on Facebook Messenger with a question, hey, would you rate these talks? And then on Facebook Messenger, you can just click on whatever ratings you want to give, and so you have this feedback conversation in your messenger. So that's also possible. You can just call the start conversation method, pass it a user ID to originate complete conversations. A big part of chatbot development is testing, and most of the frameworks that are available out there don't really deal with testing because it's not that easy to do. And when I started working on BotMan, I wanted testing to be a big part of it because it's important for us. So what you can do is you can just create PHP unit tests, and then you have a fake bot instance where you can say, okay, this bot receives the message test, and then I assert that the reply is hello, for example. Or you receive hi, and then assert that the replies are in this array, or that it's not. Or there are a lot of assertion methods available for you to choose from. So testing is really built into this tool. And as I mentioned with the natural language processing, middlewares are a huge part of extending the functionality to make it fit to your business process. So, yeah, I think you can see it. This is the basic flow of what happens when a message comes into your chatbot application. So first we get the incoming message where we call this received middleware. This is where we send the message, for example, to Dialogflow. Then we check, okay, is this incoming message for a user that's currently in a conversation? There you can call a captured middleware to manipulate the behavior of maybe some answers. And then it would load the active conversation. If we're not in a conversation, we check, is the text that we receive matching any of my known commands? So you can also modify this with a custom matching middleware. For example, if you have certain commands that are only available to one user, like admin commands, you can just create a custom matching middleware to only make these messages match for this user. And once the messages match, there's a heard middleware that gets called. So this is basically the received middleware, but you know that something matched. Then we call the method, send out the response, and there you can also hook in to perform any kind of action with the outgoing response data. So a really simple example would be we have a logger middleware that just implements the sending and receiving middle interfaces, and then we can just apply it for all outgoing and incoming messages. And another way to extend BotMan is by using custom drivers. So as I showed you, there are like 10 available messaging services that you can use out of the box. But if you are using, for example, Mattermost, if you know it, it's an open source Slack alternative. It's not currently in the core of BotMan, but you can just create your own driver class and still use it. And you're also not bound to the HTTP protocol. So for example, I started working on an IRC driver, so you can also use it with different protocols. You just need to implement them in PHP. I think I got a couple minutes for a quick demo. So this is it big enough? Yeah. This is a service which is called BotMan Playground. It's beta, and I use it mostly internally to quickly scaffold and try out chatbot applications. What I can do is I can write something like BotMan, here's hi. Bot reply. Hello. And give it a try. So I just thought it would be cool if we just build a quick feedback bot right now. So I tried to look it up before the event, but I couldn't find some really good figures. Quick hands up, how many people have Telegram here in Serbia? Is it common? Not that common. Okay. So with Telegram, what happens when you start the conversation with a chatbot is it sends you /start. So what I want to do is when you press on the start button, we're going to start a conversation, which is this one right here. And here we say, we create a question. How did you like my talk? And then we add 2 buttons. So one would be button create with the label is thumbs up, and the value would be good. And another button with, I'm not going for the shit emoji, thumbs down. And the value is nah. All right, because I know what happens if I use it for the shit emoji. And So next we will ask this question. Then we jump into the closure with the answer. And we will store this as, let's say it as rating. So this rating equals to answer get value, because I don't want the emoji in this case, but I want the actual value of the button click. And next, we're going to ask, do you have any additional feedback? We jump into the closure again. I must not forget these. Okay. And we store this as the text. And in this case, I don't want get value because there is no value as I'm just entering text. But instead, we're using get text. And now I'm saying, thank you, enjoy the rest of the conference. Yep. Okay, so if I haven't fucked this up, there's a high chance. Oh no, okay, great. So if I type /start, I get my buttons. I can press on the button, give additional feedback, valuable feedback like this, and we're done. Now, the cool thing is, well, it's not so cool if you don't have Telegram, but I can store this anonymously, GDPR, yeah, to a server, so we're only saving the rating at text, no user information. And we can go and connect this to a real Telegram chatbot. So let me go to connect Telegram, paste the token. Open Telegram. Okay, so here's the phpsrb feedback bot that we just created. If I press on start, how do you like my talk? Nope. And yeah, that's how you can easily create a chatbot in 5 minutes. So if you want to find out more about BotMan in general, the whole documentation is at botman.io. It's all open source, so if you find typos in the documentation, just send me a PR. That would be great. Don't be mad. Send a PR. In addition, I launched a video course around the whole chatbot topic, so if you're interested in this, you can check out buildachatbot.io. And, well, for those of you that have Telegram, here's the link to the chatbot that I just created. But in general, please use joined in to give feedback to the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Now it's time for questions and answers, I suppose. Does anybody have a question for Marcel? Okay.
How do you handle typos?
Typos are mostly handled with natural language processing services. So if you only use like static keywords, you would need to use regular expressions, so pipe and then have multiple, which is not really perfect. So natural language processing is the way to go for typos. Yeah.
More questions? I mean, you can always ask him downstairs in the middle
Just
track.
approach me. I'm
Marcel is from
around
Germany.
here.
Get him a beer.
I'm at the Paulana stand, so yeah.
Okay.
So those models you create with natural language processing,
Yeah.
I think you have 3 or 4 examples.
Mm-hmm.
Is that service then learning based on those examples?
Yeah.
Or just like those 4 examples will work and the 5th won't?
No, it's also with Dialogflow, you can opt in to create a log of all the incoming messages that did not match, and then use it to learn. It's not fully automated though, so it's really not limited to these examples here. If it's somewhere around these sentences, it will still pick it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Okay.
No? Okay, I guess we can get applause once more for Marcel. Marcel, thank you very much.
Thank you.